Entrepreneurs like to do good. Usually they like to do good after they've made an enormous amount of money and they're a lot older than Alan Knott Craig Jr., who's an entrepreneur, but is doing good as well. Alan, before we go into this amazing project that you're busy with at the moment, last time we saw each other was at in the Cape Town departure lounge, where both of us had just recently left our job, yours, of course, being much more high profile, when you had written a book about Mix-It, and then you departed there. Anything more you can tell us about what went on there or how you're feeling about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it still feels pretty sore, but you know, I must say time heals all wounds, and you know, I took a hell of a roll of the dice with that whole thing, took some risk, and there was a lot of upside for me, but in the end, I guess I just didn't deliver the goods, and I had to take a big setback. So you know, it's taken a while just to come to terms with all of that and start rebuilding, you know.
But you're an entrepreneur. You've done. How many businesses have you started?
Well, I mean, I've been involved in the starting of over 20 businesses in the last 10 years. But me personally, I'd say I've probably only done 2 or 3 myself.
And this one that you're in now, Project Isizwe, which is a hugely ambitious project to get free Wi-Fi, presumably to everyone in Africa.
Yeah, the idea is it's not impossible, and it doesn't seem that everyone's really driving it. So, you know, since I've got a bit of time on my hands, I thought I'd see what I could do to roll out free Wi-Fi.
Why?
Well, I kind of think the information, you know, access to information makes for a better world. And I've got kids, and I don't just think for myself anymore. So, if I can do my little bit to, you know, make the country and the continent a better place in the next few years, well, this is a little thing I can do.
Alan, you're one of the young global leaders at the World Economic Forum, and there's a lot of people there who also want to do good. Have you pulled any of your network in?
Yeah, definitely. Not just that network, but there's some other guys. You know, it's funny, you know, at the end of the day, everyone kind of wants to get off the sidelines and do something. They're trying to look for something where they can make a difference. This is one of those particular things where I think I can drive it, but I've got lots of guys helping in the background.
Have you pulled in people from abroad there?
Yeah, I've got 1 or 2. I've got a friend out of London, and got some more friends in America kind of tying in. But for now, it's really just African, you know. I mean, guys, I think you've got to do it locally, otherwise you're really missing the point.
And it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to actually make it happen, and you've started the ball rolling.
Yeah, I know we started the ball. I mean, it actually all started when I was at Mix-It, and we did a deal with the council at Stellenbosch. And we kind of, you know, with some warts, we managed to get some basic public access Wi-Fi working. And there was really no trick to it other than you just had to get the council working together with the private sector. And now with the City of Tshwane, we've actually announced a couple of weeks ago that we're going to try and do the whole of Tshwane in the next few years. Basic free Wi-Fi for low-income communities, focused on schools. And you know, when you kind of look at the pieces you've got to put together here, this is not like billions of rands and lots of infrastructure and lots of execution risk. This is really just putting together parts that are already there.
If it's not billions of rands, how much is it?
Well, to start with, you know, we're going to do 5 sites in Tshwane for R1 million, fully funded for 5 years. Fully funded. So that's basic free Wi-Fi for, you know, about 25,000 people, fully funded 5 years. And the reason it kind of works is because when you're working with the council, they give you sites. So they've got lots of buildings and they don't charge you rent. The equipment itself has become incredibly cheap, mostly thanks to Motorola going bankrupt. So, you know, it was the world's leading radio technology company for a long time, and all the skills were sitting inside there, and when it kind of disintegrated, those teams went off and started their own businesses and are now manufacturing the best Wi-Fi equipment in the world at a fraction of the price it used to be 5 years ago. And lastly, you know, because we are a non-profit, we provide a kind of a vehicle that guys can contribute bandwidth into. So whether you're a Mix-It or a telco or somebody with excess bandwidth, you can throw it into the pot. It's a sunk cost, and throwing that into the pot reduces the big bandwidth cost of offering free Wi-Fi.
But we come from a country here in South Africa where we've paid through our noses for bandwidth for so long. It seems almost impossible or incredible that this can be available to low-income or poor people for free.
Yeah. Well, it's not impossible. It's
You're
clearly
doing
not impossible. We're doing it. I think the timing's right. You know, 5 years ago, people didn't really have Wi-Fi enabled phones in those communities. Nowadays, there are enough of second-hand routers, laptops, smartphones, or semi-smartphones, you know, in those markets. So I think the kind of timing's quite good for this whole thing. And the truth is, 20 years from now, we'll look back and say, how on earth was it not free? I mean, it's going to be like water and electricity. Everyone in every country in the world should have a basic cap, if you want to call it that, of data, because it's such an enabler.
But what about people surfing porn sites? What about downloads of huge files that might clog up the system?
Yeah, we've got the product, actually it's like a sense of product. The product for the user is no more than 250 megs a day. We put some security measures in place to stop torrenting, so the students and the youngsters kind of try to eat up your whole network downloading movies. And we don't let guys do more than a meg per second. So it's pretty fair, it's not too bad. And then we really focus on content that's educational and actually gender related, and also games, funny enough. So games are just another version of sports, and kids playing sports are out of the courts. So especially in the low-income communities, guys that are kind of doing something less dangerous or destructive with their time, it's a good thing. And how we do it is we put the actual content on the network itself, so right there close to the community. So we'll have the Khan Academy, we'll have Sulavula, we'll have Wikipedia, all sitting right there. And whilst they can break out to the rest of the web quite easily, it's quite slow, whereas the stuff we want them to get onto is really fast.
Democratizing education.
Yeah, I think that's the internet.
It could change. It could change this country's trajectory.
I don't think it already has. I mean, the mobile operators kind of shown that already, and I think it's not going to be the way it happened in Western Europe and the USA, where there's cable and fiber and copper. It's going to be wireless. Whether you like it or not, 3G is mostly for profit, so the guys are going to all try to make a profit, and it's never going to be free. Whereas Wi-Fi, for me, seems the most logical access medium for the bottom of the pyramid. And if we can just kind of line a couple of actors for the continent, then I don't see any reason why you can't do it.
Alan, what about you? You, as you say, have been involved in 20 businesses that you started. So it's always been a for-profit kind of approach. Now this is clearly on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out yet how I'm going to make loot again. But I don't know, in the meantime, whilst I'm not necessarily chasing something with a big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, this is a nice way to feel like I'm making a difference. And of course, it's a rising tide effect. So it's kind of there's a multiplier effect. The more people that get onto the internet, GDP grows. More money for everybody kind of probably makes it a bit easier to start a little business. So I'm pretty sure I'll figure something out. It'll probably be back in the broadband space a little bit, but for now, this is my focus.
And have you pulled others into supporting you in Isizwe?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of great guys, like-minded. One of the nice things about not having any money, as opposed to my last venture, is that I can't pay people. So I've got people coming on board for the right reasons. They're not coming on for a salary. And these guys are rock stars. They're just everyone's in it for the right reasons, and I think we can build something quite sustainable.
Full time?
Yeah. For now.
So you're doing it full time, and these 100%. Guys who are with you are doing it full time as well.
Guys are all full time.
How do you eat?
Eat into your savings. There's the way the model works is really once the money goes into Project Isizwe, it finds a local installer somewhere. For instance, in Tshwane, we find a local installer, and they get 90% of the money, and 10% remains as an administrative fee. So there's some token salaries and things like that. I'm pretty sure we're going to find some for-profit stuff down the line that's going to consume the guys' time, and this will be their kind of side duty. But for now, guys aren't eating, to be quite honest.
Well, you started with Tshwane, and it is ambitious to have everybody in that city or in the metropole or to have broadband or Wi-Fi available to them by 2016. What about other parts of the country?
Well, it's just a matter of political will. So once you've kind of got the major political decision makers on board, you get it drives, right? And I was very impressed by City of Tshwane, actually. I mean, the Mayor Ramokgopa is actually a visionary, and whilst obviously every politician is political, he wants to leave something really meaningful, and you can see the impact the internet makes in the low-income communities. So whilst it's not something for everyone, it's not going to cover Waterkloof. The idea is it's the low-income communities, it's public spaces, and it's really education related. If you kind of nail that stuff, it's quite a good example. I'm pretty sure we'll have some other municipalities and hopefully some provinces actually on board. But in the meantime, I've got my hands full.
Is he well connected, the Mayor of Pretoria or Tshwane? Can he introduce you perhaps to the guy in Johannesburg or even your own Stellenbosch?
I'm sure. When you just start a relationship with a girl, you want to try to keep it monogamous for as long as possible, and we try to keep it monogamous. I'm trying to deliver on promises to him, and I think and he also needs to see that we can deliver. We've done it before already. This is going to be a bigger scale, but as far as I'm concerned, he's a great guy, and it doesn't matter whether he knows people or not. Anybody kind of seeing the success of a project like this would be hard pressed to find a reason not to do it.